I think you take this as a win. You serve the few years that you may get, and you be happy that you didn't get life. I'm somewhat shocked as to the trafficking for Cassie. I thought that might have been a stronger case for the government. I didn't think that they had the RICO, and I definitely didn't think they had the Jane trafficking. But this is, I think in only so many words, and I keep saying it, I think this is a positive result for Sean Combs and his team.
So, things just took an unexpected turn for Diddy, and it seems like the verdict might be swinging in his favor. After months of speculation, bombshell accusations, and intense media scrutiny, the jury has finally spoken. And Diddy's reaction? He screamed in celebration. Could this be the start of a comeback? Is he dodging massive fines, career collapse, or even the threat of jail time? Or is this just a brief win in a much bigger, ongoing battle? Before we unpack what this verdict could really mean for Diddy's future, make sure you hit that subscribe button, because things are only getting messier. Over the past year, the music mogul has been hit with a tsunami of allegations that read like the plot of a scandal-packed crime thriller. We're not talking one or two claims either, we're talking dozens, and by some reports, over 100. Yep, triple digits. And the stories? Wild, disturbing, and seriously damaging. It all really kicked off in November 2023 when Cassie Ventura, Diddy's ex-girlfriend and former protege, dropped a bombshell lawsuit. She accused him of a decade-long reign of abuse, including rape, trafficking, and drug-fueled coercion. Now that lawsuit was settled within 24 hours, which shocked everyone. But surprisingly, by then, the gates had blown wide open. Suddenly, it was like everyone who had been holding in a secret was ready to talk. The accusations started pouring in, and they haven't stopped since. One woman claimed she was drugged and sexually assaulted by Diddy when she was just a college student in 1991. Another described being 17 years old when she was invited to a party, only to be drugged and gang-raped. Some said he recorded them without their consent. Some said they were threatened, stalked, or blackmailed.
A woman only described as Jane Doe claims she was the victim of sex trafficking by Combs and his Bad Boy Entertainment president, Harvey Pierre, when she was just 17 years old. The allegations stem from a chance 2003 rendezvous at a Detroit lounge that continued with a private jet to Combs' Midtown Manhattan recording studio.
Then came Rodney Lil Rod Jones, a music producer who dropped a massive civil suit in 2024 that really blew the lid off. He alleged Diddy ran something resembling a full-blown ring, complete with freak-off parties, drugs, underage participants, and hidden cameras. According to him, Diddy used his power to force or coerce people, including him, into disturbing situations that no one could just walk away from.
Have been filed against Combs, including one by music producer Rodney Jones. Jones alleges sex trafficking and sexual assault, also mentioning underage girls in the 79-page lawsuit. Claims made by Jones include hidden cameras in the rap mogul's home, saying, quote, Mr. Combs allegedly threatened to eat Mr. Jones's face in order to get what he wants. According to law enforcement, federal agents with Homeland Security seized computers and other electronic devices at Combs' home in Holmby Hills and Miami.
The federal authorities will look into the evidence that they've collected, and then they'll go in front of a grand jury and try to get an arrest warrant for Diddy if there's enough there.
And then there's the numbers. While it's tricky to keep count because new lawsuits seem to pop up every few weeks, most reports agree that at least 66 civil lawsuits have been officially filed. But dig deeper, and you'll find some legal teams claiming they've gotten over 3,000 tips and are investigating more than 120 potential cases. But wait, there's more.
Tony Busby says his office has received almost 3,300 calls from people who say they are victims of Sean Diddy Combs. He says they've had to turn some of those people away, but they're working to vet the stories of the others. So far, they have accepted 120 clients. He says a few of them are from Houston. Busby says these alleged crimes happened over the last 25 years, with most happening since 2015 at parties or auditions or in the studio. He says they've received pictures, videos, and texts related to the alleged assaults to corroborate the stories of the clients they have accepted so far. Just about half of the alleged victims have told Busby that they either reported what happened to the police or at a hospital. He says based on medical records, many of them had a drug in their system that's used to tranquilize horses.
In 2024, Diddy was slapped with a federal indictment. 5 criminal charges were on the table. 2 counts of trafficking, 2 counts of transporting people for prostitution, and one big one, racketeering. Basically, the feds accused him of running a full-blown criminal operation, using his fame and fortune to orchestrate abuse behind closed doors. So what's the final tally? 5 federal criminal charges and over 100 civil lawsuits, all tied to serious allegations that span 3 decades.
Couldn't get any worse for embattled music mogul Sean Diddy Combs. Today, a prominent lawyer came forward saying he intends to file more than 100 different lawsuits from alleged victims.
A new Diddy bombshell. Houston-based lawyer Tony Busby made the revelation today.
The claims we intend to bring will include the following: violent sexual assault or rape, sexual abuse, facilitated sex with a controlled substance, false imprisonment, compelling prostitution, sexual misconduct, dissemination of video recordings, false imprisonment, sexual abuse of minors.
Busby says the victims include both men and women, and he says some of them were minors.
Our youngest victim at the time of the occurrence was 9 years old.
Now, the trial on these allegations began in early May 2025 in Manhattan Federal Court, drawing massive media attention from day one. Jury selection wrapped up on May 12th, and opening statements followed immediately. Prosecutors painted Sean Diddy Combs as the orchestrator of a long-running pattern of abuse, manipulation, and coercion. The defense acknowledged his chaotic lifestyle, but insisted everything alleged was either exaggerated or entirely consensual. The prosecution called 34 witnesses over 6 weeks. Early testimony came from hotel security guard Israel Flores, who claimed he saw Combs physically assault Cassie Ventura in 2016 and was later offered hush money. Male escort Daniel Phillip followed, recounting a disturbing encounter where he was allegedly paid to engage in sex with Ventura while Combs watched, and became violent. Cassie Ventura's 4-day testimony was the trial's emotional center. She described years of abuse, including drug-fueled freak-offs, controlling behavior, and a disturbing 2018 assault she said amounted to rape.
What would it be like when Cassie Ventura, who is the government's star witness, came face to face after 6 years of not seeing in person the defendant, Sean Diddy Combs? And when she spoke, she talked about how they first met. She described herself as sexually inexperienced and very naive, that he was her first adult relationship. Talks about hindsight for a lot of it as well. And one of the things that she focused on during the course of the conversation as well, that was really interesting, was she spoke about how he first introduced the concept of freak-offs to her. She said her stomach fell. She said, oh, she was confused, she was nervous. She didn't know what it was going to mean, and that she was wanting to be a people pleaser, and because she loved him, she wanted to please him. But she said she didn't know what no would turn into, explaining at this point in time in the testimony acts of violence or that there would be consequences if she defied him or ignored him in some way. She said that he was a polarizing yet charismatic person and very charming, and talked about blackmail material.
Another woman, identified only as Jane, testified for 6 days, describing similar coercive experiences and the power Combs held over her life, often using money and threats to maintain control. Federal agent Yasmin Binda testified about the 2024 raid on Combs' homes, where investigators found drugs, cash, lubricants, and other items prosecutors argued supported the accounts of planned sex encounters. Kid Cutie gave a chilling account of Combs allegedly firebombing his car after he dated Ventura. The defense didn't call any witnesses and rested their case quietly, focusing instead on pointing out inconsistencies in testimony and stressing consensual relationships. Closing arguments spanned 2 days, with prosecutors calling Combs a manipulative figure who used wealth and fear as tools. The defense argued the prosecution had painted a wild lifestyle as criminal without proving actual trafficking or conspiracy. Now today, the long-awaited verdict in Sean Diddy Combs' trial finally came in, and the outcome is making waves. After weeks of explosive testimony and 3 full days of jury deliberation, Diddy was found guilty on 2 counts of transporting women across state lines for prostitution under the Mann Act. However, in a major twist, he was acquitted of the most serious charges, including trafficking, and racketeering conspiracy. As the verdict was read aloud in court, Diddy stayed composed at first. But when the not guilty rulings came through, he turned to his family, eyes wide, and shouted, "I'm coming home, baby!"
The judge said he would convene a hearing later this afternoon to determine if Combs should be released. He seemed confident, telling his family after the verdict was read, "I'm coming home, baby." And we caught up with one of his sons just a moment ago. He certainly seemed to believe also, Diane, that his father would be released on bail.
That emotional outburst quickly became the moment everyone was talking about, a sign of both relief and release after months of intense scrutiny. But here's the thing, he's not going home just yet. Despite dodging the harsher charges, the judge ruled that Diddy will remain in custody. The reason? He's still considered a flight risk and a potential threat to witnesses. That means he'll stay in a Brooklyn detention center until his sentencing date on October 3rd, 2025. Each of the guilty counts carries a maximum sentence of 10 years, though experts say a 4 to 5 year sentence is more likely based on federal guidelines. Still, Diddy's legal team is already pushing hard for leniency, calling the acquittals a major victory. Outside the courthouse, reactions were intense.
Kira, I'm still trying to wrap my mind around this. I'm not even sure if I would say there would be an appeal, because for Sean Combs and his defense team, this is a massive win. 3 of the counts that had a life sentence possibility are gone. When it comes to transportation to engage in prostitution, the minimum is nothing. There's a theoretical possibility that he walks out on probation. Now, do I think that's going to happen? No, but the max is 10 years. Even if you were to take both sentences, and he's not going to get 10 years, they're going to look at his criminal history, mitigating circumstances, aggravating circumstances, and I would assume that he gets somewhere in the middle ground, maybe like 3 to 5 years, 3 to 6 years possible through that sentencing range for each count. Sean Combs going to trial where he was facing life and being able to walk out with something under 10 years, well under 10 years possibly, that is a victory. Will he appeal? Sure, that's his right to do so, but I don't see an appeal here. I think you take this as a win, you serve the few years that you may get, and you be happy that you didn't get life. I'm somewhat shocked as to the trafficking for Cassie. I thought that might have been a stronger case for the government. I didn't think.
Supporters cheered and some even popped bottles. But not everyone was celebrating. Survivor advocacy groups called the outcome a partial failure of justice, pointing out that serious allegations still went unpunished. So, while Diddy avoided the worst-case scenario, his future is far from certain. With sentencing on the horizon and felony convictions now on his record, this case is still a defining chapter in his legacy, and it's far from over. But let us know your thoughts on all of this down in the comments. Do you think justice was served, or is this just the beginning of more fallout? We'll be watching it all unfold. See you in the next one.